Frank Warren expects Wardley versus Usyk to be ordered today. Now, today meaning the 4th of November. You know, shout out to DC. Happy birthday to you. But I think the expectation for the Wardley versus Usyk fight to be ordered today, I think it's kind of strange because, you know, you wonder where was all that energy when Joseph Parker had it. And like Frank said, that Joseph Parker did make the choice to fight Fabio Wardley, which he did. You know, the warrior in him, the Kiwi in him, chose to fight Fabio Wardley, which was a dangerous fighter with that one-punch hand cannon. But nonetheless, you really didn't hear of Frank pushing for the opportunity for Joseph. I just didn't see the energy like that. Now you see it if you noticed. Fabio Wardley is in line. He's the WBO interim champion. He's next in line to fight Usyk. Now that's all you're hearing. Hey, we're going to make sure Fabio Wardley gets the opportunity. And, you know, if not, they're going to strip him. And we're going to make sure and we're going to push the WBO to do so. If they're not trying to strip him, we're going to push for that notion for him to get stripped. Therefore, Fabio Wardley can become the next champion by email. If you notice, that's what all you're seeing. That's what you see. That's what you're witnessing. You're witnessing, okay, you know, this is what we expect. This is what we're pushing for. But it's just crazy you didn't see that with Joseph Parker. You know, you just seen like, oh, well, he went for a chance and he took a chance and he lost. That's it. But before that, you really didn't hear Frank Warren really pushing Joseph Parker. I just don't see it. I just don't see that at all. But this is big news nonetheless, regardless of what favoritism may be, because this is boxing, the sport that we love, that we hate so much, so it doesn't matter anyway. But what we do see is possibly, if this is referring to the 4th, okay, because now it is the 5th, you know, and I guess by now we will see if the WBO is forcing the hand like Frank Warren expects. And, you know, based on what we've heard from Team Usyk, you know, I guess he's still injured or whatnot or whatever, right? But, you know, you're hearing their team, you know, Sergey Lapine, right, which is Team Usyk, talk about the possibilities of Fabio not fighting Usyk, but Fabio, in fact, fighting Moses Atoma. You know, and then they're looking at that interest in that rather the interest in Fabio getting the opportunity for all the belts. When you do have to ask yourself a question though, like at what point do you have someone worthy enough to fight Usyk at this point? You know, I know there's no known stars. I mean, the closest one is the star that they're trying to create, but then they snatched back in momentum, which is Moses Atoma. You know, but who else is really out there? I mean, there's someone, don't get me wrong, there's someone always to fight. There's someone always to, you know, bring a challenge to the next fighter. I think that's more impressive. And I think what they're trying to do is not be like Vladimir or Vitali, but it comes to a point that when you beat everyone, that's how you are considered the best. Not just because people think you are, just because you beat a few guys that were known names. Okay? So we know about boxing, if you know anything about it. It's always the person that's less likely or less known to beat the fighter that is at the top. It never fails us. Buster Douglas, Andy Ruiz, you know, Oliver McCall. You know, you have these guys that they just come out of nowhere and they end up beating these guys that we would have never in a million years thought would happen, but they get beat. That's why it's important for these Wardley challenges, the Joseph Parker challenges, regardless of what we feel in our own made up, educated, I guess, minds, that we know who's going to win because we all got it figured out. But no, I mean, the truth of the matter is that we don't. We don't. So Frank pushing for that fight, I think it's aggressive, and I think it's the right move for Frank. Again, like I said at the very beginning, I just didn't see the same energy he had for Joseph Parker. He had it more for, guys that were British, like Daniel Dubois and Fabio Wardley. But you guys tell me what you think of Frank Warren's expectations of the WBO to order the fight between Oleksander Usyk, the undisputed champion, and the WBO newly crowned champion, interim, Fabio Wardley. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.